going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your preview for NXT Heatwave. Yeah, I know. You're listening to this on a Monday. You're expecting WWE last week. If you don't know, check out the last pod. I'll explain why there's no WWE last week. Got kind of a busy weekend on my hands. I'm recording this Friday morning, enjoying a wonderful day off. I'm about to go see SmackDown live tonight. I'm going to Destiny on Saturday, so there will have been no Collision review as well, if you're wondering where that is. But NXT has a show coming up on Tuesday, and I don't always, I dip in and out of NXT at the best of the times these days, but I don't talk a lot about their elevated weekly episodes, which is way different from pay-per-views. Heatwave is kind of like I've used the comparisons a lot, and I'm not doing it in a negative way, but when they do Heatwave, or they do, it used to be Great American Bash, but now Great American Bash is a proper PLE again. But it is very similar to when AEW does, House of the Dragon, or Winter is Coming, or in the past week, we've had Fight for the Fallen, which was a cool thing, raising funds for the people dealing with all their struggles in Maui. Absolutely a cool thing. Don't let me denigrate that whatsoever. But the elevated episodes of NXT are usually just, it's good. It's what you want from NXT. We're going to give you a couple more really important matches than we thought. But the reason I'm coming up to preview this one is, A, it looks really good, and B, we also have No Mercy coming up. And this card that they've put together, it's only 6 matches. It gives me lots of talking points, but it's only 6 matches. If this was the No Mercy card, if this, what we're getting on Heatwave this coming Tuesday, was a PLE, I'd be down for that. I'd be in for that. I would take this as a PLE card. But equally, I think there's a lot of stuff from this that's going to build to No Mercy, or at least I hope does. So it's got to strike that balance between being a special episode, but also, pushing forward the week-to-week television, which is kind of a weird thing for them to do. And I say the same thing when AEW does it. Is you want to make this event feel like an event, but it also has to be a cog in the wheel. It has to be productive moving forward to the next actual big show. Now that's ironic because AEW now employs the big show, but we're going to leave that joke where it is because it's lame. AEW right now is doing Fyter Fest Fight for the Fallen as they lead into 2 different pay-per-views, which is a whole mess that I'm going to talk about later on this week. But this one is leading to No Mercy, and No Mercy, because I haven't done any planning whatsoever, I'm going to quickly pull up the schedule on my phone. No Mercy is at the end of September, so they've got a fair bit to do here. That was my phone hitting the charger again, if you are really interested. They've got a lot to do between now and then, but if this is, say, the launching point, if we want to do a micro-macro thing with WWE, and how the Royal Rumble sets up WrestleMania, and there's a lot of space in between, if what happens at Heatwave can even set us on the course towards what's going on at No Mercy, then I don't think that's any kind of bad thing. And WrestleMania is WrestleMania, and Royal Rumble is a building block to that, but Royal Rumble is still very much its own thing. I hope that this can do that. I don't know. I can just tell you what I'm looking forward to. So let's get into the card. I've done enough ramble. That was almost 4 minutes of ramble. Thank you for listening. Nathan Frazier versus Noam Dar, representing the Metaphor for the Heritage Cup Championship. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I like the Heritage Cup thing, the British Rounds rules thing, it's enough of a different thing. It's not for everybody. It is sort of like a niche within a niche within a niche as far as wrestling style goes. I compare it to the ROH Pure Rules thing. It's its own thing, sort of off in the corner. And I think they know that not enough people care about it, that they don't pretend that it's a serious thing. They stick it to the side with a bunch of goofy characters that can be goofy characters and still put on awesome matches. Noam Dar losing the cup without actually losing it and then going into a catatonic state for a while, Weekend at Bernie's style, was hilarious. And the fact that he then got a fake cup, lost that fake cup to Tyler Bate. Tyler Bate gave that fake cup back to him so that he would fight Nathan Frazier, who has the real cup, so that we can have the new WWE NXT Undisputed Heritage Cup champion, or whatever the fuck they're going to call it, is a funny story. It is. It's a funny story, but it's all hiding, the fact that Noam Dar is a great wrestler. I've liked Noam Dar since the Cruiserweight Classic. I've liked Noam Dar since his first couple of goes around in WWE when he made his move over to NXT UK, when that was a thing. Hey, does anybody know if NXT Europe is still a thing? I don't know. But Noam Dar is a great wrestler. Like, at the end of the day, he's playing a weirdo right now, and it's kind of awesome. But he's taking on Nathan Frazier, who's legit just, fireworks in a can. Love to watch him just do his thing. Nathan Frazier doing the hard-hitting home truths John Oliver thing that he does is also weird. But he's the real cup holder. Noam Dar is the fake cup holder. Now, Noam Dar has an axe to grind here, because while he agreed to the match, when Oro Mensah represented him, he didn't technically lose his cup, but he did, and it's all that sort of, wrestling admin that we always like to make fun of. You have to remember in the background that Bate giving up the fake cup, so did he really give up anything, was what got Nathan Frazier this undisputed match type of thing. Basically, Nathan Frazier's going to win. Noam Dar is going to continue doing, character work based on yet another loss, which is fine. And what I'd love to see out of all of this, I'd love to see it sort of pulled out from the silliness a little bit. Give it a month, which is only 4 weeks, which is only 4 shows. Give us Bate versus Frazier, just two awesome, great wrestlers wrestling for the sake of wrestling, and then see if I can take this this type of a match seriously, because they are cool concepts. For me, that doesn't watch UK wrestling, where apparently this is a thing, I do like it as a concept. I don't need it all the time, but if you throw one on a show, it's like, people say, oh, throw on your token tag team match, or throw on your token cruiserweight match, or throw on your token women's match, which is a big AEW problem at the moment. Those should not be token. Those should be pretty evenly spread out throughout the card. But this isn't sectioning off people. This is just a different type of wrestling. This is more like put on your one token hardcore match, or your one token ladder match, one per show, one per pay-per-view, whatever the case may be. I really like it. And as far as concepts go in NXT, they did the Eliminator Gauntlet thing match a while ago that was sort of a brand new concept out of nowhere with the penalty box and whatever, and that ended up being way better than anybody thought it would be. So I'm watching this. I'm going to watch Noam Dar and the Metaphor do their weird character stuff. I'm going to watch Nathan Frazier be an awesome wrestler, and I'm hopefully going to watch Tyler Bate sitting in the background setting up for a match between Bate and Frazier at No Mercy, which will be a hell of a match because they're both great wrestlers and they're both face wrestlers, so there's going to be less nonsense that you get with the Metaphor. Hope it sets... Again, for the first time of many, I'm going to say, hope this sets the table for No Mercy, Bate versus Frazier, just two good guys having a good guy match. Ivy Nile versus Ava feels very much like the match that would just be if this was just next week's episode of NXT. Now, a lot of other things are going to go into this. Ava is obviously going to come out with the Schism, which includes the Dyad, who tried to get the tag team titles last week from Tony D and Stax. Tony D and Stax have also stepped up in the defense of Ava against the Schism in the absence of the Creed brothers. The Creed brothers also teasing a return after they were kicked out of NXT by the Dyad. So here's my thing, where we're going to go here. And I feel really bad about this because, let's not just swoop over the women, but I'm kind of going to do it because this is going to be the catalyst. Ivy Nile is going to be out there by herself supposedly, and Ava's going to come out with, Joe Gacy and what... I can never remember the the fake names that they've given to the grizzled young veterans, but them, the dyad. It's going to be Joe Gacy and the dyad and all the losers in masks, and then 2 of them ended up being the Creed brothers. Like, let's just be real, that's what it's going to be. If it's not that, and if they're going to drag out that tease a little more, when she starts suffering the numbers advantage, you know, Tony D and Stax coming out to help her once again, because, you know, they're the criminal gangster underground guys, but with heart. And also with championships that aren't being defended on this night. Either way works. No mercy. You're going to get a triple threat for those tag titles. It's going to be the Creeds, and it's going to be the Dyad, and it's going to be Creeds, the Dyad, and Tony D and Stax for those titles. Now, like I said, it's not the best look in the world for NXT that we're using a mid-card women's match to get you to that triple threat men's tag team title match, but it's fine. This really does zoom in on, you know, normally I talk about, oh, who's going to win this match, who's going to lose this match, you know, whoever's going to lose, maybe they're going up to the main roster. Everybody involved here, I would love to see on the main roster. The Schism as a group going up to the main roster and testing the main roster audience's tolerance for what the Schism is, I think will be a lot of fun. I guarantee they will rename Ava as Ava Johnson or Ava Maivia to highlight the fact that she's The Rock's daughter without actually just coming out and saying it. Joe Gacy, if he went back to his SJW shtick from when he first came in, I think would be hilarious. If they come up as a group only for the Dyad to turn on him and then the Grizzled Young Veterans just are a tag team in the tag team division, that would be great. The trio of Ivy Nile and the Creed brothers need to be on the main roster. Like, they're ready. I need to see Ivy Nile and Zoe Starks in a program. I need to see a team like the Creeds mix it up with the Viking Raiders, because goddamn, what are they doing with the Viking Raiders right now, other than steamrolling them with the New Day? Oh yes. And who's the third? What else is going to be fun on the main roster? I mean, Tony D and Stax coming to the main roster would just be fucking class. And What Culture's own Adam Wilborn, who's coming into his own good news, and congratulations to him and his significant other for that, would be in heaven if Tony D and Stax were up on the main roster. Now, who wins out of this? Probably Ivy Nile, because she's got 2 different sets of people who could be coming to back her up. Ava, she's fine in the ring. Ivy Nile's a lot better. I like Ivy Nile. I mean, I stuck her in there with the Creed brothers as a call-up, but Ivy Nile on her own is great. She's got, like, the, you know, the super athletic, like, pit bull attitude, all those cliches that we throw around, but she's really good. And the fact that she's been the one, out of all the Diamond Mine, out of Tyler Rust and Malcolm Bivens and Roderick Strong and Damon Kemp and the Creed, the Creed brothers, all of them, Ivy Nile is the only one technically on the show right now keeping the Diamond Mine as a thing in people's minds, and I think she deserves a bit of credit for that, because we know the Creed brothers are coming back, but she's there to remind you that the Creed brothers are coming back, because she's getting fucked with by the Schism, and the Schism is doing their own thing. Bring all of them to the main roster. Bring all of them to the main roster. It'll be fine. Von Wagner versus Baron Corbin is the weirdest match on this show. Not gonna lie. Both guys are in a really weird place right now. Good weird, but weird. They've done this sort of sad background story with Von Wagner as he's become friends with Robert Stone. He's come out and, talked about when he was a little baby kid and having all the surgery and how they had to reconstruct his head and whatever. And it's sort of explaining away all his weird behavior. They're sort of tiptoeing around, calling him the R word, and I'm not going there, but they are just the right side of, okay, this could be really fucked up if they go too far in this direction. But he's becoming sort of like this lovable Frankenstein on NXT, and when he lashes out, people love it. And it's like, here's this guy struggling to find himself, and the fans themselves are negatively reinforcing what would apparently make him a good guy. Like when he goes and destroys somebody, he gets cheered. So he associates that with being good and with getting love from the crowd. So it's more of a nuanced character thing than I think NXT is getting credit for, because a lot of stuff on NXT is very silly. Mr. Stone is, you know, his exacerbated, you know, caretaker at this particular point. Von Wagner coming out and doing the super obvious, why are you wearing sunglasses? We're inside. It's very, very, it's very, very quotable. It's very, very mockable if you're a terrible person. Most of the impressions and shit like that I'm going to do is just because I listen to way too much What Culture, so I don't want to steal too much of their shtick. But Von Wagner, I said it a second ago, I'll say it again. Von Wagner basically out there being the lovable Frankenstein. Like the good guy. He's like the good guy version of PCO. And I didn't think I would make that comparison, but it was like, give me a version of PCO that a kid could go hug at a contracts or at a autograph signing. Like, that's what Von Wagner is right now, and that's a really weird character line to draw. Now, the other side of the coin is Baron Corbin, who I'm a huge fan of right now, who had sort of a coming out party at, what was it? Great American Bash, when he came out as like this new no gimmicks, burn the ships, like Baron Corbin's just going to be Baron Corbin now guy. And the fans, I mean, I like that, and I have always asked for them to be like, okay, Baron Corbin has something, give him something to amplify that something. And it's really cool for me, who wanted them to give him something a little more real, a little less gimmicky, to see that they've done that and that more people than just me have latched onto it. Like, Baron Corbin's going to go in there. He's the bad guy because everybody loves Von Wagner, but we're ready to root for him being a bad guy that's not lame, which is a really backwards way to get a fan following. But like, we're not booing him because his gimmick is really cheesy. Like when he was the corporate general manager guy, we're not booing him because he's like super overly happy guy that's not really happy with his annoying t-shirts. He's not the down on his luck guy that's walking around and asking everybody for money and pissing off Kevin Owens, because these are all very, very put upon characters, where he's done this thing now where it's just like, I've been around, I've dealt with some shit, let me tell you how the world is according to Baron Corbin. And people are into it. People are into it. The closest thing I can compare it to is back in the early days NXT, when NXT was, a lot of people say, was, you know, it was booked as a super indie, which is fine. He was like the anti-indie guy. He was the guy, you know, saying, go back to your small gyms, go back to your bingo halls, get out of my ring, all that type of stuff that was perfectly key at the time. Now he's come back a little bit different, and he's like, I've been around this place a while, let me tell you how the world is. And I think that's kind of cool. And only a real life talent like Baron Corbin, who's never really been to the top, who's been kind of dicked around gimmick-wise, can portray that. And I think that's really, really cool. I think these guys are both going to go into this match with something to prove. I think they're going to smack the hell out of each other. I do predict that there is going to be a no contest here. I do predict there's going to be a no contest, and this will be another one that goes out to No Mercy. And there's a weird dichotomy on how I think the fans are going to react to this, because people love Von Wagner wrecking stuff. And the fans need to see Von Wagner wrecking stuff. Corbin needs the fans to see him wrecking somebody. So I do think, as popular as Von Wagner is right now, if this goes to a proper PLE, Corbin gets the win. Corbin gets the first decisive victory of this no gimmicks, no bullshit, burn the ships version of Baron Corbin, because he did this thing with Gable Steveson that went to a no contest that was really over, that people were cheering for, that he had the really wicked new entrance and he held his own and he wasn't a dweeb for once. But now you've got that and you've got people's attention with it. Give him his first win. I don't know whether that happens this Tuesday or whether that happens at No Mercy. I'm happy either way. And Von Wagner won't lose anything by losing. That's the other thing. He's built a lot of character and a lot of sympathy with this crowd, largely by not even having matches, by just telling his story, coming out and wrecking some nerd and all that kind of thing. So yeah, probably a no contest here, but if it's not going to No Mercy, give Baron Corbin the win here. The Judgment Day. Judgment Day will be felt on NXT programming. Now, it's very cool to see Rhea and Dom doing their own thing on NXT, where primarily they will be putting on the Judgment Day's okay, Judgment Day's fine, there's absolutely no problems with Judgment Day face, while they take on Dragon Lee and Lyra Valkyria. Now, they can do that, they can put on that face, because the pairing of Rhea and Dom are the only pairing that don't have a problem. In the Judgment Day story, I should say, check out my previous pod for what I thought about last week's Raw. But, you know, Finn has this relationship with JD McDonough. Finn has these problems with Damian Priest. Damian Priest has these problems with Finn. Damian Priest wants nothing to do with JD McDonough. Rhea Ripley is pissed off at all of them for not getting along, and Dom just gets to stand there behind Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley and Dom is the strongest pairing in the Judgment Day, and the stuff that they've been doing on NXT has been a lot of fun. They're taking on Dragon Lee and Lyra Valkyria. Now, Dragon Lee took a shot at Dominic Mysterio's North American Championship with Rey Mysterio in his corner. Didn't quite go his way, which is absolutely fine. Lyra had this weird sort of 2 or 3 week mentorship from Rhea Ripley, and then decided, yeah, no, you just manipulate people. And it's like, no, she's doing it from a heel perspective, but she's giving you encouragement, and she's giving you, like, get out there and have a killer instinct and rip somebody's head off type of thing. And then they had, I will say, Lyra Valkyria and Rhea Ripley. Why is my phone beeping? Why is this a thing? Lyra Valkyria and Rhea Ripley had a banger of a match, and they had Lyra Valkyria stand up to her way more than I thought that she would. Similarly, I think it was like a year ago when Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez were doing their Pick Your Poison thing, and you got Roxanne Perez versus Rhea Ripley, and that was a banger as well. Rhea Ripley is a monster, so you're not going to beat her, or at least they better not beat her, but you can have people look good in just standing up to her at this point. It's a lofty comparison, but I compare it to The Undertaker. Undertaker had his streak at WrestleMania. You don't go into WrestleMania thinking you're going to beat The Undertaker. You go into WrestleMania knowing that you've already won, because you're the guy that the company has put up against The Undertaker this year. I think that's something that goes way over people's head, as it's now become suddenly trendy to pretend The Undertaker sucked. But that's another story for another day. There's 2 wildly different ways that this can go. Either Rhea Ripley absolutely kills Lyra Valkyria, pins her in the way that only Rhea Ripley can, that I'm sure we all appreciate, and solidifies the Judgment Day's okay, everything's okay, we're all fine mentality, or there's some chicanery, some outside forces distract Rhea Ripley, and Dragon Lee is able to get a roll-up win over Dominic Mysterio. Either way, nobody's pinning Rhea Ripley. You're never going to see Rhea Ripley defending. Seth Rollins defended the world title on NXT, and I don't think that did anything for anybody. Rhea Ripley will not be defending that women's world title in NXT. I guarantee it. I'll shave my head if... that doesn't work when I'm not doing this on video. But I'll shave my head if they have her defending that title in NXT. But win or lose, I have to believe that this is coming to a Dominic versus Lee rematch at No Mercy for the North American Championship. I do think they're going to take that title off of Dom eventually. I think they're going to take the title off of Dom eventually because the issues with Judgment Day as a whole are going to spill over into NXT at some point. Like, if the go-home show for No Mercy has, Dragon Lee and all his friends taking on the Judgment Day, and then, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, maybe even JD McDonough have to all go down there in force, and instead of helping Dom, they actually end up costing him the match. Hey, maybe they cost him a non-title match with Dragon Lee, and that's how he gets his title rematch at the pay-per-view. I would be okay with that as well. as funny as it is for Dominic Mysterio to have this belt, and as much as it completes the look in Judgment Day of everybody in Judgment Day has something except Finn Balor, I do think it'll be the somewhat internal collapse of the Judgment Day that ends up costing Dominic Mysterio that title. Whether it happens at No Mercy or not, I don't know. The other thing that's happened on NXT is Dominic Mysterio's gotten a chance to sort of low-key show that he doesn't exactly suck in the ring. It's kind of unfortunate that he had to sort of move to NXT to get to show that a bit more, because on Raw he's way more of a character. He's way more of Dominic Mysterio is the rest of Judgment Day's pet. In NXT that's slightly less because it's only him and Rhea down there, but I mean he's still Rhea's pet. Let's be real for a second. But yeah, I think it'll be great. I think you'll either get like a 2-second squash where Rhea Ripley just kills Lyra, or there's some shenanigans and Dragon Lee gets a pin on Dom and we go from there. Either way, Dom versus Lee at No Mercy in some way, shape, or form for that title. The last 2 matches I've left for last. I mean, one of them's the title match, so it's going to be the main event. But the last 2 matches, all 4 people involved in these matches revolve around Carmelo Hayes, which I think is really cool. You've got Trick Williams versus Ilya Dragunov, and you've got Carmelo Hayes versus Wes Lee. Now, Trick Williams needs to show that stepping away from Carmelo Hayes and being his own man was the right thing to do, that he can stand on his own, not be a sidekick, etc., etc., etc. Ilya Dragunov was the most recent person to try to get that championship off of Carmelo Hayes. He was not successful. He has to bounce back from that. Wes Lee is reeling from losing his North American Championship, and he's sort of gotten into this weird battle of words with Carmelo Hayes over, like, being a cranky asshole, more or less. So he's trying to lose upwards. He's pissed off about losing his title, and he's trying to prove himself to himself by proving himself to the guy with the bigger title that he lost, which is a little bit of mental chess. I understand. It sounds like I'm talking in a circle. I'm trying to not do that. So Wes Lee is trying to step up to Carmelo Hayes' level, prove to himself that he can be there. They've done a great job of telling his story about, you know, losing his tag team partner and struggling from the bottom, and, you know, not thinking he was even going to get a mid-card title, and then he got a mid-card title, and then he became the mid-card champion that NXT has had in storyline, and now stepping up to the ultimate precipice. I think that's a crazy good story, but I think he's sort of being a bit petulant and a bit, you know, oh, nobody thinks I can do it, but I'm going to prove you all wrong. Well, everybody loves Wes Lee, so that really doesn't work. And even Carmelo Hayes the entire time has been giving him his props, like, yeah, we see what you've been doing. I saw what you did with that other title that I used to hold, and you made it prestigious, and, you know, you've done everything you've said you're going to do. You're just not me. And Carmelo Hayes is the one, as the champion, that's saying, can I go on being the champion without my sidekick, Trick Williams? So Dragunov needs a win, Trick needs a win, Wes needs a win, and Carmelo obviously needs to win if he wants to hold on to his championship. I think because all 4 of those guys are so tightly knitly tied together, I think you have to put the Trick Dragunov match at the beginning of the show and the title match at the end of the show, just to keep them apart. Because if they're going to have anything to do with each other, we need to not think that they're going to have anything to do with each other. I think the obvious winners for both of these have to be the obvious winners for these have to be Carmelo and Trick, and I'll tell you for why, right? Carmelo Hayes needs to prove that he can stand alone as champion and prove that, you know, I wasn't a champion just because I had backup. Trick Williams has to do basically the same thing and prove that he can stand on his own, like I say, outside of Carmelo Hayes' shadow. Now, out of Trick Williams and Ilya Dragunov, they both need to bounce back, but Ilya has proven that he can get himself to a main event level. Trick hasn't. So while they're both recovering, Trick Williams needs to recover more. He needs the win more, and Ilya Dragunov, I don't think, will be hurt by a loss. These two are going to smack the hell out of each other. They're going to be smacking the hell out of each other in very different ways. Trick Williams is bigger, stronger, more powerful. Ilya Dragunov is just insane. Don't believe me? Go and watch the empty studio match that they did in NXT UK between Ilya Dragunov and Walter before he became Gunther. Ilya Dragunov going up against a bigger guy just being crazy works. It works really well. So, you got two guys that need a win. I think Trick needs it more. Carmelo Hayes needs to prove that he's not champion just because he had backup. And thing with Wes Lee, and much the same as I'm going to say about Trick Williams, Wes Lee just needs to prove that he deserves to be in the main event. Like, that's the win for him at this point. And it's not that I'm saying right now that I would mind if Wes Lee won. I think that would be an awesome hot shot from one belt to the next, losing upwards, all those cliches that we use. The only way Wes Lee beats Carmelo Hayes is if Carmelo Hayes is going to the main roster. And I know that's becoming my cut and paste answer for a lot of things, but it's absolutely true. Let's not put aside, like I said, Trick Williams and Ilya Dragunov are going to just beat the piss out of each other. Let's not overlook the fact that the main event is, I'm pretty comfortable saying, the two most athletic people in NXT right now. Carmelo Hayes, Wes Lee going after that title. The match itself, the match for match's sake, if Carmelo Hayes wasn't the champion, I would still put this in the main event, because that match, just for match's sake, is probably the best match we can get on NXT right now. And I firmly believe that. If there was a situation where, Carmelo Hayes lost Trick Williams because storyline-wise he was injured, whatever, and he needed a new partner because his partner was taken out by a team, you could see, and the whole story started because one night, who was it? It was Carmelo Hayes and Wes Lee took on Pretty Deadly. Was it Pretty Deadly? I think it was Pretty Deadly. And they agreed to be a team, but there was friction between the two of them, there was competition between the two of them, and that has obviously now boiled over with Wes Lee losing his title and Carmelo Hayes obviously keeping his. I think there is a really cool level of respect from both guys, and that's why when Wes Lee is like screaming at him, it's like, I'm screaming at you so that you know how important it is for me to beat you, and it wouldn't be important for me to beat you if I didn't know that you were a kick-ass champion. And so the balancing of the respect that both guys have and the frustration that Carmelo Hayes kind of has with Wes Lee and the frustration that Wes Lee kind of has with his lot in life at the moment, it all comes together pretty damn well. And where I said that this card that we're talking about is going to build to No Mercy, but I wouldn't mind if this was No Mercy, is because if we don't get a rematch of Carmelo Hayes and Wes Lee at a proper PLE in front of a crowd that it deserves, I think NXT has really missed a trick, no pun intended. Put this in a larger arena. Put this in a building bigger than the Performance Center. No offense, I love the Performance Center audience for NXT because they go there to have a good time. You guys will know I did a series briefly called NXT Rewind, and we took a look at the first couple of early takeovers that took place in Full Sail, and what I said at the time was the crowd at NXT, especially at that point, were the opposite of the WWE crowd. WWE crowds went there to be critical, went there to be disruptors, went there to do what chants, went there to, stand there with their arms crossed and say, impress me, whereas the Full Sail crowd went there intending to enjoy a show. Imagine that. And I feel like, yes, it's a studio audience. Yes, I think they get free tickets. Yes, I know it's a lot of the same people a lot of the time and all that kind of thing, and I think they get a bit of direction. That's fine. I don't care. You're making a good show for me. You've got an audience full of people that are there to have a good time and there to be taken on whatever ride NXT wants to take them on. And the ride that has brought Carmelo Hayes and Wes Lee together is fucking awesome. The combination of wrestlers is fucking awesome. The predicted quality of this match is fucking awesome. Put them in front of a bigger crowd. Let them wow on a bigger crowd, on a bigger stage. Do it on a pay-per-view where simple things like we got to wrap it up because our 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock time slot on USA is about to run out. Let them go on a pay-per-view where they can run long, where if the crowd is really loving it and they see a way to extend it by 5 minutes this way or that way, that's going to make it even better, that they have the ability to do so. I'm looking forward to this match. I hope they do some. I don't want it to be a bullshit ending. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, Von Wagner, Baron Corbin could have a bullshit ending to get us to a rematch at No Mercy. I don't want this to be a bullshit ending. I want there to be a clear winner this Tuesday. But I want there to be a clear winner this Tuesday in a way that leaves it open for a rematch. Because here's the deal. Carmelo Hayes retains, Wes Lee goes farther off the deep end, we get to No Mercy at the end of September, and that's when Wes Lee takes the title off of Carmelo, because that's when Carmelo Hayes is going to the main roster. Bigger, better story. Carmelo gets his last match in front of a larger crowd. Wes Lee gets his moment in front of a bigger crowd, but we get a taste this week of how good that pay-per-view is going to be. If you do this match, and then you announce that the main event of No Mercy is a rematch of this match, provided that you show how good it's going to be, you sell that pay-per-view on that match. You just do. And it might sound like I'm kissing their asses. I really don't care. There's a lot of fun stuff on this card, right? The Heritage Cup stuff is fun. The Schism stuff and Tony D and Stax and the Creed brothers pretending to be part of the Schism is fun. Weird ass Von Wagner, Baron Corbin stuff is fun. Judgment Day stuff is fun. Trick Williams and Dragon Lee, pounding 10 shits out of each other is going to be a lot of fun. Carmelo Hayes and Wes Lee is going to be great, in my opinion. Come back and tell me if I'm wrong. If they go out into the ring this Tuesday and lay a fucking turd in the ring, come back and tell me I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Anyways, that's what I think of Heatwave. That's what I think we're going to see at Heatwave. Those are my a month out preliminary thoughts on No Mercy as well. Let me know what you think down in the box below. But I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. Right now.